Doo-dee-doo-dee-doo. Oh, hello there, and welcome to another News Coolum video. I'm just here at a almost local EVgo charger. My app isn't up. I haven't done anything else, so I'm actually going to test right now to see if plug-in charge works. Good old Cristobal, who I think was actually off the last time I was here. I've heard that plug-in charge does work. Yeah, it's initiating. So no swiping of the card, no nothing else. But that's not really the video that I wanted to make, actually. It's not what I wanted to talk about. And my title will probably, I guess, give that away. I wanted to talk about Fuzzy Panda. For those of you who maybe aren't aware, Fuzzy Panda is not, in fact, a lewd act. It appears to be possibly a retail investor, possibly... Well, here's the problem. We don't know who Fuzzy Panda is, but they recently released a hit piece on EVgo that had a huge negative impact on EVgo's share prices and share valuations. Now, before I even head into this, full disclosure, I do own EVgo shares. I am invested in the company, not a large holding, because I want to support EVgo as a charging infrastructure. I hold ChargePoint shares, a number of battery maker shares. So just putting my money where my mouth is, right? Trying to promote the adoption of electric vehicles. Well, I'm invested in a number of these companies, and EVgo is one of them. And then the other thing is, this is not meant as financial advice. I'm more reporting news on what happened, what we know, and why I think that Fuzzy Panda really probably needs to be investigated by the SEC. When you look at their blog, when you look at their information, there's no SEC disclosures about whether they hold EVgo shares or they're shorting EVgo shares. And EVgo, maybe not in terms of overall value, but in percentage, EVgo is possibly one of the most shorted EV stocks, at least current times, maybe ever. I don't know. I'm not going to make any outlandish claims like it's the most shorted stock ever. But it was significantly shorted. You look at it, it's something like a 30% shortage rate, which if you know, again, I'm not a financial expert. I just know that when you hit 30%, that short interest, that's very high. So with that, someone does hold a very large short percentage in this. Now, whether that is someone that's affiliated with Fuzzy Panda, I don't know. Whether they're working for them, working with them, or they represent a hedge fund, I don't know. I just think that the SEC should probably look into whoever they are, because their report had this massive sort of it was a reputational attack, it was a financial attack, and some of the information that they gave appears to not be accurate, right? Someone called them out on their Twitter feed because they claimed that there was an IPO lockout expiration. And essentially what that means is they're claiming that people who got into EVgo shares during the IPO, or the institutional investors, they're locked out of selling until a certain date. But they bought for pennies on the dollar, so once that date hits, they're just going to dump all of their shares, flood the market, and crash the value for everyone else. And so there's a lot of FUD in the Fuzzy Panda report. There's also connections to Epstein through the LS Power Corporations. That's that sort of umbrella corporation that purchased EVgo. They're saying also that they have some sort of connection to NRG, or were former board members of NRG. And for those who, just a quick history of EVgo started in a very similar way as Electrify America, as sort of a judgment for wrongdoing. NRG was the parent company, and they were based out of Houston, which is why pretty much if you go to a Cracker Barrel in Houston, there's an EVgo charger, still NRG branded, probably in front of that restaurant. And so there's a sort of a history with this NRG company. EVgo was let go. They're a little bit more independent now. And then this LS Power, according to Fuzzy Panda, came in and bought them for pennies on the dollar. Again, none of that I can't say for certainty that Fuzzy Panda is wrong. And, to be perfectly honest, as a customer and as an investor, I am not enthused that LS Power is the one that took over EVgo. I would like to see them be a completely separate and autonomous company that doesn't owe any sort of allegiance to any larger power company or larger conglomerate that might not have the same interests in mind as the average electric vehicle owner. So that is a concern. It's a valid concern. The things with that Ghislaine Maxwell, who just went to prison, the Epstein, all of that seems to me to be more of a personal reputational attack, possibly as an effort, I hate to say it, but to dissuade businesses from being associated with EVgo, because a big portion of EVgo's business is being able to woo businesses to act as a host for their chargers, because they aren't building their chargers on property that they own. They're building their chargers at Walmarts, at grocery stores, at gas stations. And so when you're doing that, you need to have a good enough reputation that those businesses want your brand. And we're not seeing it yet. There's enough available space for all of the charging providers. There's no constriction in that. But it still does put EVgo now at a disadvantage for finding new business hosts that will host their site if they have their reputation impugned by some sort of connection with Epstein or others. But I think the other aspect of it is Fuzzy Panda probably wanted to dissuade people from criticizing them and their negative report. And one of the ways to do that is to associate with this Epstein issue, because now anybody who goes after them, oh, well, you must be friends of Epstein. I don't even know if that's a thing. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that whole side of the news story, the whole Panama Papers. Those are things that every American should read. They should know about what wealthy Americans are doing with capital and how they're avoiding paying taxes. I'm not arguing any of that. But this particular hit piece seems to be purely meant as a means for Fuzzy Panda et al. To basically make a killing on their short selling. And you might say, well, when you short sell a share, what would prompt them to do this now? Because EVgo has been shorted. Like I said, the shortage percentage has been in the high 20s to low 30s for months and months and months now. So what triggered? Well, an increasing inflationary market triggered. When the market is inflationary market is increasing, holding short positions actually becomes a lot more costly. And so if you want to make money, you got to get those shares out, and the more and more you can devalue the share, either the less and less it costs you, or the more and more money you can make before you exit. So what we should be watching is, in the time since that Fuzzy Panda report went out till sometime in the future, we should be tracking that short percentage to see how it's decreased and who's sort of exiting their short positions, because like I said, EVgo has crashed in value. And like I said, I'm not really concerned about that from my investment perspective. I'm looking at it more from the perspective of, I don't want EVgo to fail as a company, because in my opinion, they are still one of the strongest public charging providers and one of the most important. Now, I know I have a soft spot for them because 5 years ago, when I'm driving my Chevrolet Bolt EV 1,000 miles or 1,100 miles in a weekend, and I'm going to national parks and I'm going all over the West Coast, it was only EVgo that was allowing that to happen. And so as a result, they've become kind of a very important charging provider. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, no. I'm just trying to do a little bit of an update. So how's the new restaurant coming? Sorry for the interruption. Speaking of business hosts, that's a good segue though. This particular EVgo site here in Orland is located right next to a restaurant that's just opening up. Small business, local business. Used to be the Berry Patch. There used to be a Tesla charger here years and years and years ago. They're doing a great bang-up job, but travelers, they can benefit from this business. EVgo benefits from the site hosting, and that's really my concern. You know, let Fuzzy Panda make their money off of shorting. I'll let the SEC decide if it was illegal stock manipulation. But what I don't want to see happen is EVgo's reputation get damaged to the point that they're no longer able to do business. And this kind of segues again into some of Fuzzy Panda's criticisms were valid, right? As a customer, as an investor, there are things that EVgo is doing that I do not agree with, that I think that they need to be doing better. But the problem with Fuzzy Panda's report is they only focused on the negative and they didn't focus on any of the positives, any of the things that EVgo is doing right. And that's a big, big problem. Based on that Fuzzy Panda report, they do appear to be out on the East Coast. And the East Coast is an area where EVgo appears to be struggling more than they've struggled out on the West Coast. So my experience here in California is going to be very different than a person out on the East Coast. But they were still cherry picking some very specific negative cases and focusing on, like I said, slower charging speeds, reduced usage, right? In terms of EVgo is trying to be profitable and they're seeing a reduction in their usage. And like I said, there's some valid concerns about pricing and charging speed and uptime. And I'm going to, in a future video, do a full-on SWOT analysis for EVgo and a few of the other major public charging providers. For those who aren't aware, SWOT analysis is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's something that organizations do for performance management, performance improvement, basically my day job. And but I want to apply that skill set to vetting some of these public charging providers, what they can do better, what they are doing well, what are some of their opportunities and what are some of their threats to their business model. So I don't want to get into all of the details here, but just some high points. Yes, like in my experience, EVgo is one of the most reliable public charging providers. Their 98-99% claimed charger uptime is very realistic. The problem is that a lot of their sites are a majority of their sites are only one or two chargers. And if you look at what a 98-99% charger uptime means, it means that 2 weeks out of the year or more, a charger can be down. That's unacceptable for a site with only one charger. That's unacceptable for a site with only two chargers, because it means for a good portion of the time, you could be down to only one charger or no chargers, making it an unusable site. EVgo in California anyway has already adopted a per kilowatt fee. Now that might have been partially compelled by California regulations and legislature, but they didn't do it universally. And this is going to be a problem for them. In some areas, right, if you use a 350 kilowatt charger for EVgo, you're paying 5 cents per kilowatt hour in Porsche Taycan or a GMC Hummer EV, whereas if you're in a Bolt EV, you're paying 50 cents a kilowatt hour. That doesn't work. There's also the issues with their session times. Their session times do not work anymore. They're just either too short, they're too constrictive, they don't match the business needs. These are all sort of things that EVgo needs to work on. The other aspect of that is with that Fuzzy Panda report, one of the things that they noted was that EVgo's usage was down, and EVgo has stated themselves that they're trying to increase their usage and increase their profitability. But there's a disconnect in EVgo right now. They are not aware that in order for their sites to see more usage, their sites need to be more compelling. So while this is a 4-charger site right off of Interstate 5 in California, massive, usage for EVs. Just down the street, not more than an hour ago, there was a Rivian, F-150 Lightning, and Kia EV6 all charging at the 4-charger Electrify America. Why? 50 kilowatt, 350 kilowatt. Big difference. So what EVgo needs to connect now is that higher usage for their sites is going to come as a result of more compelling charging sites. Now, to be fair to EVgo, and this is something Fuzzy Panda did not mention at all, GM is putting somewhere between $750 million and $1 billion into EVgo's charging network. I've already reviewed and visited a number of these EVgo Ultium-ready charging sites with 4, 6, 8, 350 kilowatt chargers, in addition to 200 kilowatt chargers with split charger capacity. Those are super compelling sites, really great sites, and those are the type of sites that EVgo is going to need to build in order to win back a lot of this market share, in order to woo electric vehicle owners back into using their sites. But again, something that was ignored is they're receiving funding for 600 to 700 of those sites across the country from GM. That's a big important factor in EVgo's favor, right? That's a big feather in EVgo's cap. And another aspect of EVgo that was completely ignored by the Fuzzy Panda, EVgo owns Recargo, and Recargo owns PlugShare. If you talk to somebody as a EV neophyte, right, and you say, what app do I need for my EV? You're going to get one of two answers from a vast majority of the EV community. It's either a better route planner or PlugShare. And because PlugShare is crowdsourced, because they cover the entire charging infrastructure, because they accept public input and it's community driven, it is by far the largest, most accurate, qualitative, and quantitative database for all public charging. That is a huge asset that EVgo has in their pocket, and Fuzzy Panda did not address it at all. So when you look at EVgo's market cap with their current valuation and all of that and compare it to billions of dollars worth of assets, something's got to give, right? And again, this isn't financial advice. If you want to consider investing in EVgo, consult a financial advisor, someone who's licensed to give you this sort of financial advice. See if it's an investment that works for you. Don't base it on what I'm saying, right? I'm just saying that from my perspective, EVgo is both undervalued and underappreciated in terms of the assets they have available, the business connections they've made, the coverage that they already have. They have room for improvement, yes, but as a company, they are still, in my opinion, top 3 in terms of public charging provider without question in the United States. So, I don't think Fuzzy Panda was fair. I'd like to find out who they are, whether they're profiting from what they published, whether they're profiting from misleading investors and devaluing shares, whether there's a price to pay for the reputational damage that they caused EVgo. It would be really nice to see them investigated and basically, have to account for why it was they released the information they released and what financial benefit it was to them. All right, well, that's all I have for now. Like, I have more than enough juice to get home, I think. But yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts on this whole Fuzzy Panda EVgo debacle. I think it's ridiculous that I even have to do this. And seeing the hundreds of sites that have already gone up with 350 kilowatt charging, the improvements EVgo is making, plug-in charge that's now active even on a 5-6-year-old electric vehicle that never had it from the beginning. These are all great things. EVgo is doing some good work. they need to get their act together with their sessions, their session fees, their permanent pricing, improving some of these sites, especially the ones on freeways, to make sure they actually have some higher power chargers for these newer EVs that are going to demand those charging rates. But otherwise, like I said, this is a snapshot in time, and I'm really rooting for EVgo to do better and to get better and to improve, because we need them. Electrify America alone is not good enough. Even if Tesla wants to throw the EV community a bone and open their superchargers, it's not good enough. We need EVgo to be doing what they're doing and have been doing well, and just continue to improve. So I'd love to hear what you think. What have been your experiences with EVgo? I know it's kind of a mixed bag. Did you hear about this Fuzzy Panda debacle? And what do you think should happen if it turns out that Fuzzy Panda made millions of dollars by misleading investors? Or maybe the SEC should probably investigate them to figure out what's going on. Either way, as you can see, I'm kind of protective of the public charging infrastructure. I want to see it succeed. I want to see it do well. Maybe EVgo can just kind of separate from LS Power and be their own independent, autonomous organization. Yeah, I'd love to hear what you think. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And as always, thank you for watching.